All right. Hillary Clinton wrapping up a news conference, at a rare one at that, in Minneapolis, where she did answer some questions about the email scandal that has surrounded her campaign. And then the news story, and that question, you may not have heard it very well at the end, was from Ed Henry of Fox News about these emails supposedly where Bill Clinton, the former president, and her husband was looking for permission from the State Department to make speeches in places or make appearances in places like North Korea. And she was explaining to Ed that had to do with these journalists in North Korea that he was helping to bring home and that kind of thing. Although she did tell Ed that she would answer one of his questions because that's what she felt he was entitled to. That was kind of interesting. Our bitter boomers, speaking of interesting, are all here right now. Any quick reaction, Mr. Gasparino, to Mrs. Clinton?
Leeb had the best reaction during the break.
I just think she honestly is the worst example of a bitter boomer one can imagine.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, it's just remarkable. She never stops. I mean, you can go to YouTube and listen to her press conference before the White House crew and hear her tell people that she made 100 times in trading cattle futures because she read the Wall Street Journal, where cattle may be mentioned once every 3 months. But this was her source of information, how she made 100 times. And it continues.
But why does that make her a bitter boomer?
It does. That makes her the worst example of a bitter boomer.
But why?
Because she's
a lying,
she's a liar.
mendacious
She
boomer.
doesn't tell the truth. I mean, this whole business about email, I mean, it says that she doesn't know anything about computers. How's she going to run the White House? With a telephone? I mean, seriously. I mean, this is a person you're going to elect for president?
What did the late, great columnist Bill Sapphire say about her way back when I was at the Journal at the time? But I remember we were reading it in reading his column. He basically,
in the Times?
Yeah,
right?
It was in the Times. He basically says that, and I'm paraphrasing, like every other word out of her mouth is a lie.
Well,
she lies on reflex, and I think that's the scary thing about her. And I think I know people that know her personally and think she's incredibly warm and nice and charming and a decent
she
person.
comes off that psychopath.
But she does all these things, and I'll tell you, the American public is now, she's stuck with this reputation.
You can't say Hillary Clinton's a psychopath.
How do you know
that? How do you know she's not?
That's too strong.
No, you don't know that.
But the thing is, what's the strategy here to say this make the statement on a Friday for the the weekend talk shows, sort of mitigating the prior kind of apology, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly a change. There's some kind of, speaking of Ed Henry, because he got it started. Remember, Charlie, last week with that question where she was fairly dismissive of him. There's clearly a change in strategy for whatever you make of it here, and that's what it is. Say, with Donald Trump, you could say, well, maybe there is no strategy. It's whatever comes into his mind, he's going to say it. But with Hillary Clinton, there's a strategy involved.
Her stonewalling isn't working. That's prompting the strategy change.
I will say this. I think there might be something psychopathic about her. She has been doing this for a long time, and it seems like, what was the word that Sapphire used? He basically said she's
a congenital liar.
It was something like that.
Right.
I can't remember. I gotta
that
look it up.
defines a psychopath. She doesn't. I mean, it's sort of like the old line about an alcoholic or an addict. How do you know when they're lying? When they move their lips. That's how you know. And it's what strikes me about Hillary Clinton. And if anyone doesn't believe it, just go to YouTube.
You're the least bitter of us.
She definitely is. That's the perspective she adds to this segment. It's kind of interesting, you guys.
Why don't we go back to
coming out of the Hillary? Because we're staying with breaking news, Charlie. What are you producing the show too? Is that
let's be clear.
He's bitter about this
If you're going to call this breaking news, what did she say that was news?
Well, she didn't say anything new, did she, guys?
No.
Zero.
What she said the other day.
Zero, Maestro.
That she didn't send or receive classified
She would have done it
emails.
differently.
She would have done
the use of the email system.
Okay,
the other day she said she would have used two
Edward
emails,
Armuro,
which was kind of the same thing. I'm just looking the
Edward
other way while he's
Armuro.
talking. She would have used two emails.
Edward Armuro.
I wonder how many emails you have, by the way.
Edward Armuro. What did she say that was new?
Well, maybe that's half of the point. She holds a news conference, ask her all these questions, and she said nothing.
Has anyone asked her?
She wanted to talk about immigration.
Let me just say.
She was very happy she got that question.
Thank you for asking.
You guys know this stuff better than I do.
This was go ahead real quick.
Have there been any emails related to Benghazi that they vetted? I'm just curious. I haven't heard a thing about that. I'm just curious whether there have been any that they have found.
The bitter boomers are pretty bitter about Hillary Clinton.
I don't know. Yeah. The question is, and no, you're right, she didn't say anything new. The question is what will happen next. We talked to somebody earlier that said, Biden's going to jump in. Do you think he's hearing anything about the fact that he gets in or any of this makes it more likely that he does?
The places that I see are most excited about the Biden candidacy is from conservatives. When they keep, I mean, I read the Washington Examiner, you read this stuff, Breitbart, you name it. They are just saying he's ready to jump in, he's on the verge. And maybe he is, but I don't get that from the Democratic money guys who are pretty plugged in that I talk to. That doesn't mean he won't. That doesn't mean they don't think that this email thing is not problematic, which it could be. But we ain't there yet.
He doesn't.
Okay?
He's never done well.
No.
And by the way, she has the apparatus. She has the husband who's incredibly plugged in, and she's incredibly plugged in. She's got fundraising ready to go. She does have a potential legal issue. We know that. That could screw her up. And the minute that does, they'll support Biden or whatever Democrat become, whatever. I mean, I think at that point, I think we're underestimating Martin O'Malley. I think he's kind of an interesting, smart guy, and he might even be the vice president to a Biden. You know what I'm saying? You could see that
if he was
a smart guy.
Does anybody think Hillary won't be the nominee? I know Neil said that sometimes.
As of right now, she is definitely the nominee by a long shot.
Right.
But here's the thing, and I would just ask this, and this is a question for Judge Mcshane, if you ever get him on, and he's a really good guy, smart man. And he's been talking about this email issue. Can she run for president and withstand, even if she's charged with a misdemeanor? Now, here's why I say that. David Kendall, her lawyer, represented General Petraeus when he got in his top secret email problems. Remember, he was, I guess, giving it to his some woman that he was having an affair with and was writing a book.
Yeah.
And I think he pled down to a misdemeanor. It's different. He's going to work at Carlyle Group.
How's it going to work for Hillary?
Well, that's what I'm saying. From a legal standpoint, can she become president with that type of misdemeanor on her record? I mean, does she get a?
No, she electable.
Let me just ask this: does she get security clearance? Can she get?
That's an important point.
State Department. Can she get security clearances with that?
Charlie, I think that Bush. I mean, the day before the Bush election.
You can't stop him.
I know you can't even detain him. Was that the old line?
No. But the day before the Bush election, they came out that he was arrested for driving while intoxicated. I'm sorry.
What I speak, is it not out loud or not?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Are you a bitter boomer now?
I'm sorry.
Are you joining the bitter boomers?
I think we have to run. I was like, it's just there's nothing coming out of my mouth. It is the bitter boomer segment.